Hello and welcome back to Pokemon Colosseum. At the end of the last episode, we continued exploring the Realgam Tower, encountering more of these trainers that are working for Cipher, and we took on some more challenges. Most of them were optional. We also made a stop back at Agate Village and received the one and only Master Ball from Rui's grandfather Egon. So that is a very important item. Obviously, it is the only Pokeball in the game that has a 100% catch rate, so we will be saving that for a very special moment. Now it is time to finish exploring here at Realgam Tower. And last time we actually discovered that Silva is actually up there guarding that elevator, or at least standing in front of it. So he actually snuck his way in this place. Wes, Rui, good luck, and please be careful always. So Silva here is under disguise, is wishing us good luck. It is now finally time to enter this elevator to go to the very top of Realgam Tower. Ah, you finally reached me. I must say that I am impressed. Wes and Rui, I welcome you to the Realgam Tower. My name is Nascour. Do you remember? The time that we met in Phoenix City. I did have the feeling that I would one day face you in battle. But I never imagined that you would be the one to seek me out here. Very soon, we will be ready to greet your arrival in style. I will go ahead and wait for you. Don't keep me waiting too long. Wes, quick, we have to chase him. Alright, so it looks like Nascour was actually waiting for us at the very top of the tower this whole time. If we go into this door here, we will find that there is actually another PC and a healing station, but it looks like it's actually in use right now. Okay, that's that then. My Pokemon are all nursed back to perfect health and readiness. Now we can go full tilt against you in battle. So as you can see, we actually have another battle up here. You will actually not be able to use the healing machine until you take down this chaser, Rugen. So kind of sneaky here. I do believe this is the only instance where this happens in the game. We did have a moment before when we first entered Realgam Tower, if you remember, where there was a trainer disguised as like an old man, or he was like a Cipher peon disguised as an old man. He wasn't necessarily blocking our healing machine, but he was just kind of, chilling in that other room where we had the last healing station. And he was optional, so he wasn't challenging us to a fight until we went up and spoke to him. But this time around, they're a little bit more dickish, and they actually place one of these trainers that are working for Cipher directly in front of the healing machine. So they actually stop you from healing up your Pokemon until you face off with this guy. So I would recommend going back to the other healing machine just in case you are weak. If you're not quite ready for another fight right away, of course, before taking this guy on. He's really not that hard, though. As you can see, he only had 2 Pokemon. We took him down with no problem at all. And the healing machine is once again available to us. Very important to note here, this is the final healing machine and PC that you can save at before your final challenge here in the Realgam Tower. So just keep that in mind. You want to take full advantage of this. And if you have not saved your progress up until this point, I highly recommend you do that now. Just saying. So heading back out to this room, we can now go up these stairs to ascend even further. And as you can see, we actually have another elevator up here. And also something to note, if you notice at the top of this room, we have statues of the 3 legendary beasts. Those are statues of Raikou, Suicune, and Entei actually located up here. Ah, he's gone. What should we do, Wes? Oh, I know. How about over that way? Couldn't we take the other elevator? So there's 2 elevators for us to take. Only one is actually in service. As you can see, this one is not operational. So let's go back over to this one. Oh, it's no good. We can't take this elevator either. Long time no see, eh, Wes? You're not gonna break my heart and tell me you've forgotten my face, are you now? That face, it can't be. Team Snag'em? But why here? Even if you don't want to believe it, you're absolutely right, little lady. I'm Gonzap, the boss of Team Snag'em, and don't you forget it. Did you ask what I'm doing here? Yes. Isn't this Cipher's headquarters? Team Snag'em shouldn't have anything to do with this. Well, surprise, surprise. We do have a lot to do with this, Missy. We were just thieves before we got a hold of the snag machines, and where did we get them? From Cipher. What they wanted was this: go snag superior grade Pokemon from trainers everywhere. What? So this is all one big plot hatched by Cipher? That's what I'm saying. Aren't you the brainy one, Missy? Master Nascour is waiting for you upstairs, but you've got me to deal with first. We've got a little score to settle here. It's time you paid up for wrecking our hideout and wiping out Team Snag'em. Don't get any ideas about beating me. So it is time to face off with the one and only leader and head of the Snag'em gang. This is Gonzap. So if you remember from the very beginning of the game, the actual first introductory cutscene, where Wes actually breaks out of Team Snag'em and steals the snag machine, this is the guy that we actually see in that cutscene. And he is obviously, like I said, the leader of Team Snag'em. So it turns out that Team Snag'em and the Cipher organization have been working together this entire time. Not really hard to kind of figure that out and put that together if you've been kind of paying attention to the story here, especially in the very beginning of the game when they both show up in Phoenix City. That's kind of a telltale sign that there's something kind of fishy going on. But it is revealed here officially that yes, these two organizations have been working together. So it looks like Wes actually made a pretty good move at the very start of this adventure by deciding to depart from Team Snag'em, because he would have actually been involved in this entire plan and could have easily been working on the wrong side this entire time. And obviously with his kind nature and good heart and soul, he decided early on that just wasn't for him. Snag'em head Gonzap is not really a pushover in any way. He has a pretty strong team built up, and this is the strongest Pokemon you will face up until this point. So he has kind of a wide variety of team members here. So you want to again go into this fight full throttle. And I know I have been kind of saying this repeatedly for like the last 3 or 4 episodes, but this is another reason why it is very important to train your team up as much as you possibly can. I would say that if you are not at least in the level 50s by this point right here, you have some more training to do. So you need to go back to some of the other Colosseums, maybe Mount Battle. You can also repeat any area of Mount Battle that you want to in order to grind up your team to the point to where you need them to be. Because once again, these trainers from here on out are not going to be anything to mess with. Gonzap is obviously not going to be the last battle that we have still in the main story, but he is going to be the first of many strong trainers coming up here starting at this point. And for the most part, these trainers are not going to be just specialized in one type, so you're going to have quite a bit of different types of Pokemon to face off against. And as you can see here, Gonzap does actually hold the next Shadow Pokemon, and it is actually Skarmory. Skarmory is a pretty interesting Pokemon, and it is a Steel and Flying type. Very hard to actually face in a battle because it doesn't really have a lot of weaknesses apart from maybe Electric and Fire. Of course, Thunderbolt will do the job with it, but obviously we are going to capture it just like with any other Shadow Pokemon, except for, you know, the one that I missed way back when. It does appear that Team Snag'em has been stealing and snagging these Pokemon in order to deliver to Cipher and Ein to then transform them into Shadow Pokemon and filling their hearts with dark, shadowy aura. Very evil indeed. And again, it just goes to show that this plan has been in the works for quite some time and is even larger than that we have even imagined it to be. Something that's also interesting is Gonzap is not given any special battle music. He actually has just kind of like the regular trainer music when you face off with him in battle, which means that he is obviously not the superior trainer in this place, and there are actually a lot of trainers, and there are actually trainers that we're going to be facing off with afterwards that are a little bit more important. So I kind of have a mixed opinion about this, and honestly, with Gonzap showing up at this point in the game, although it is a nice reveal to kind of understand clearly now that these two teams have been working together, Gonzap really has been kind of overshadowed in this game. He appears in the very first cutscene, like I mentioned, and you kind of see him as this very intimidating figure. However, once we arrive in Phoenix City and meet up with Nascour for the first time, we kind of figure out that there are other individuals that have a little bit of a darker presence and more intimidating appearance. So Gonzap, in my opinion, is kind of underutilized in this story. He, although has a really cool design and look to him, and although he is the leader of a criminal organization as well, Team Snag'em overall are kind of looked at as like not all that serious when comparing them to the Cipher goons. Even though they are working together, Team Snag'em are kind of like the underlings or like the grunts to these guys. They're essentially being used by the Cipher organization and Nascour to just kind of carry out one part of the entire Shadow Pokémon plan. In fact, I would even go out on a limb to say that Cipher Admin 9 is a little bit more threatening and intimidating than Gonzap is even because he was actually the one responsible for engineering and creating the machines that actually turn the Pokemon into Shadow Pokemon. So Gonzap's part and contribution in the plan was actually pretty small if you think about it. Even though they were doing some illegal stuff by, stealing other trainers' Pokemon, he really isn't all that threatening once we have, kind of made it to this point in the game. And now that we have a better understanding that Nascour is essentially the ringleader of all this, Gonzap really isn't all that big and bad. So my opinion on this is that, yeah, I don't really know how I feel about that. I feel like Gonzap maybe could have been reused for a different game, or maybe they intended on him being the big bad and the ultimate antagonist of this game, but that just changed later on. I'm actually not entirely sure what their initial plan for Gonzap was, but it just feels like he is a little bit outshined when you think about some of the other characters that we've encountered in the game, just like such as Nascour, Mirror B, and even Nine. Go and throw another timer ball here, and looks like that's going to do it. So timer balls are very effective in this part of the game because there may be times where you will take several turns to catch a Pokemon, and that is when they are most useful. You've grown a lot better, Wes. What do you say, Wes? Why don't you and me team up again, just like old times? You, me, and the snag machine? You can do whatever we please. We can do whatever we please. The world will be ours, hey? I'm gonna have to say no to that. I figured you'd say that, but that doesn't matter anymore. There's no going back for you now. Get going. You don't tell us what to do. We do what we want. So he actually steps aside for us to enter the elevator. He has admitted defeat, and we have conquered the leader of Team Snag'em, Gonzap. After healing up at the healing machine just downstairs and saving one last time, if you go back up here after entering any other room, Gonzap will be gone. Just like that. But he was a coward, probably the biggest coward of them all this whole entire time. Nothing left to do but to enter this last elevator. What kept you, Wes? I worried that perhaps Gonzap had beaten you. The time has come for you to pay off some debts. We'll have you battle as payment towards the huge losses you inflicted on us. I expect to see spectacular battling out of you. After all, you're here to entertain. A big crowd like this? It is a little intimidating. I don't want to be embarrassed here, so I'll battle to win. So this is the first trainer of many that we are going to be facing off at the very top of Realgam Tower. As you can see, just like they promised, Cipher has turned the very top of Realgam Tower into a Colosseum on its own. And every trainer that we will be fighting on the top of this place will hold a Shadow Pokémon. As you can see, we have Miltank up next to capture. This series of battles are going to be a little bit different than the other Colosseum challenges as well as Mount Battle that you know and love. Because between fights in this challenge, you will not be healed up after every battle. So it is very important to go back and make sure that you stock up on enough healing items before you start this challenge. That can be a problem because some of these trainers are pretty strong, and knowing that they all have Shadow Pokemon, these battles can take quite a bit of time if you're not successful at catching them right away. So very important to do that, and I think I have stressed that and beat that over the head as well. The herb shop back down in the under is a great spot to stock up on revival herbs, and we did that before we even entered Realgam Tower the first time, and that's why I recommended doing so. They will fully revive your Pokemon if they faint, which could be very useful right here in this specific spot, because again, if you have Pokemon that faint and you move on to the next challenge, they will start the battle fainted as well. So you will not have your Pokemon automatically revived or healed up between battles. But I do kind of like this idea of having one last Colosseum challenge, essentially closing out the main story of the game, because this is it. This is the end of the main story. We will not be traveling to any other locations. This is where we're going to be facing off with the ringleader Nascour himself once we surpass all of these different trainer challenges. So they are essentially acting out probably one of the grimiest, slimiest, and nastiest deeds that rich people can do, which is essentially use their money towards having trainers battle it out by also using Shadow Pokemon that have been corrupted and violated, I mean, let's be honest, as part of that challenge, or as part of these challenges. So yeah, it's kind of like if you think about it, I don't know if anybody's out there has ever watched the show Squid Games, but it's kind of similar to that, where you essentially have a bunch of ultra wealthy individuals who essentially use their money to watch people battle it out for entertainment purposes, and they don't care if these Pokemon suffer, or if they have harm befall them, or if anything bad happens to them, or if their hearts get corrupted by shadowy aura. They do not care, because this is purely entertainment for them, which is very sick if you actually think about it overall, which again, it goes to show why this game is very memorable, and it's probably one of the darkest games in the Pokemon series. Like, this idea of having these wealthy individuals do this and just kind of sit back from the sidelines and just watch it happen is very weird and is very crazy. But again, it just goes to show how far this story is involved in this dark and sinister plot. We have taken out the first of many trainers here. We've captured successfully the first Shadow Pokemon, Miltank. My turn next. And so it continues. We have trainer number 2, or Ryder DeLon. He's going to start off with Absol and Sharpedo. One thing that's also kind of interesting is, if you notice, there are several trainers in the audience kind of cheering on the battles. So it looks like they have actually recruited a bunch of people to sit back and watch this happen as well. We have our next Shadow Pokemon up for grabs, and it is Absol. So we're going to go ahead and attempt to capture it, of course. Another thing to note is that if you fail to capture any of these Shadow Pokemon up here at the top of the Realgam Colosseum, you will actually not have another chance to capture them until the main story is concluded, or of course unless you lose any of these challenges. That's another thing to point out, is if you lose to any of these trainers, you unfortunately will have to restart from the very first one over again. However, with that being said, if you even successfully capture any of these Shadow Pokemon but lose to any of these trainers as well, you will actually have to recapture the Shadow Pokemon, because a loss in this Colosseum challenge will actually result to reverting to your last save point. So although you may have Sages, looks like it's trying to learn Safeguard here, we're going to pass on that. We don't really need that when we have a light screen. So even if you get through like half of these challenges, or all of them besides the last one, and you capture every Shadow Pokemon up until that point successfully, but lose to the last trainer in this challenge, you will still have to not only re-challenge every single trainer that you just fought, but you also have to capture the Shadow Pokemon again that you've already caught, because again, it essentially acts as a game over and you will be reset to your last save point. So that's very crucial and very important to keep in mind. And this is probably the hardest point in the game, and I would not blame anybody, especially if you're a first timer playing this game for the first time ever, that if you lose this. I don't blame anybody for actually losing this, because I've done this before. I've actually lost a couple of these trainers my first time playing. Had to restart from the very beginning, and was absolutely angry at the fact that I had to recapture some of these Shadow Pokemon. So just keep that in mind. This is it though. This is the last stretch of the game, so it is very important to keep these things in mind as you want to, again, go into this from the start with everything that you have. Stocking up on as many healing items as you possibly can, training up your Pokemon to the point to where you feel comfortable. I still feel a little bit hesitant, although we did a lot of training between story points. You know, after the Shadow Lab, before the Shadow Lab, before the Realgam Tower. I still feel like we have a chance at losing this, and I might very well lose at some point in this challenge. So it is a very hard challenge. Again, probably the hardest part in the game that you will ever encounter. But just keep that in mind. Another thing to point out is we still have our Master Ball. So although it only has a one-time use, we are kind of getting to the point where we're running out of Shadow Pokemon to capture. Like, these are going to be the final Pokemon that we will capture in the game, apart from the post-game, which I won't really spoil too much about, because there may be some Shadow Pokemon that we have to find even after this point. But it is very important to use your Master Ball wisely. So you want to really save it for that one Pokemon that will probably give you the most trouble and will be the hardest to capture. In my opinion, there is one Pokemon in this place during this challenge that would be a good choice to use your Master Ball on, but I will point that out once we get to it. We have not encountered that Pokemon yet, so just want to point that out. And it looks like we unfortunately failed to capture yet again another Shadow Pokemon. So we have taken a loss here in the middle of this challenge. That is very unfortunate. We lost Shadow Absol. I'd heard about you, but you were much more than I expected. You must be Wes. I've been looking forward to meeting you. Don't you think it's a great honor to battle on this fabulous stage? I'm going to beat you and earn my promotion to an admin. Man, the things they will do for that damn promotion, I'm telling you. So we are now facing off with the third trainer in this challenge. It is a Cipher peon named Nella. So as you can see, by the time you get to the end of these trainer challenges, you are now going to be facing off with actual Cipher peons. So it seems like the trainers that we faced off with in the first two challenges and some of the other trainers we fought here in the tower itself were just kind of, I guess, auditioning to be Cipher peons and to get hired on to those roles. And it seems like the Cipher peons are auditioning to be Cipher admins. So you can kind of see how their hierarchy works within their organization. They essentially have to prove themselves in order to be eligible to even be a Cipher peon to get the, special fancy outfit or whatever. And they eventually will get promoted up to an actual admin, just like Mirabee, Dakum, Venus, and Ein themselves. So kind of interesting. So this trainer is actually going to be specializing in one type, it looks like, and she actually has all fire types. So it looks like they are still playing the card where it looks like they are still playing that specialty card where some trainers will have a very set amount of weaknesses since they are only going to be consisting of one specific type. So take full advantage of that. But we have our next Shadow Pokemon here, and it is Houndoom, and I'm hoping I do not screw this up like I just did in the last battle. Unfortunately, Absol was a huge loss. But again, you will have a second chance of capturing all these Pokemon. If you do make it through these challenges and actually win against all these trainers, you can actually come back here and re-challenge it again to get another chance to capture these Pokemon if you do indeed fail to do so. So like I said, every Shadow Pokemon in this game is recapturable. You do not need to sweat about any of them in the game. The only ones that are kind of annoying to go after the second time are those evolved Johto starters at the very beginning in Phoenix City, because if you remember, I pointed out in the last episode, if you fail to capture them at the very beginning of the game, you essentially are locked out from using them until the very end, because you can't get a second chance until you face off with whichever of the three mystery troops that you choose to fight against way back in Phoenix City in the beginning of the game, because they will show up again here when we, like you saw when we faced off with Verde the second time. That is your only second chance, and the soonest you have to actually recapture that evolved Johto starter, so keep that in mind as well. We got Houndoom in a pretty nice position here. It is paralyzed. It is low health. Let's say we go ahead and take this opportunity to capture the thing. And it is kind of annoying and a little bit of a tease, because they essentially give you some of the best Pokemon in the game here at the end. But, I mean, at this point, it really doesn't make any sense to use any of these Pokemon in your team, because you're at the end of the story by this point. So, kind of annoying, but again, it is the end of the game, so it makes sense they're going to throw, the strongest of Pokemon at you here at the end. So, all right, we're gonna go ahead and attempt to capture this thing one more time. And like I said before, and I don't know if I really emphasize this enough in this game, but timer balls, just like with Ultra Balls, are just as important to stock up on. I did a lot of off-screen purchasing, going back to the Outskirts Den is where you can obviously find all the Pokeballs. And they will actually sell you timer balls as well. And I want to say I pointed that out earlier on in the adventure. I'm the last battler. I'll show you exactly why I was chosen to anchor our squad. So this is it. This is the last trainer of the 4-trainer Colosseum challenge here at the very top of Realgam Tower. He is going to start off with Tropius and Cradilly. We're going to start things off here with Apollo and Cotton Swab, and we're going to see how well we can do here. And just like with the other three, he also, of course, has a Shadow Pokemon, and this time it is Tropius. Tropius is another interesting one, having a dual type of grass and flying. So it is a pretty interesting choice, but once again, we're at the end of the main story here, so it doesn't really make sense to recommend any more Pokemon at this point. Cradily is another interesting Pokemon with kind of an unusual dual type as well, as it is both a grass and rock type. That is a very interesting choice. Again, if you've ever used a Cradily in any of the other Pokemon games, it could be a solid choice just because it doesn't really have a lot of weaknesses. Something that's effective against both grass and rock is kind of a dime a dozen. I honestly can't even think at the top of my head what would be effective against both of those types at the same time. We're gonna go with the reliable psychic attack. Kind of whittle down Cradily's health just a little bit. Went ahead and lowered its special defense. That's always nice because the next psychic attack that strikes it will do a little bit more damage. Another thing that's kind of nice to have are these lemonades. Although they don't heal a lot of HP, you can stock up on quite a bit of them for very cheap. If you remember back down in the Under, there was that one vending machine in the very south corner of the downtown area. It had all sorts of different refreshments, and the lemonade is the best one you can get because it heals the most amount of HP out of all three of those refreshing drinks. 80 HP isn't too bad when you're thinking about wanting to heal your Pokemon, especially at this point in the game. If you stock up on even like 10 or 12 of them, that really isn't that bad because, again, they are pretty cheap. They're less than 1,000 Pokédollars per lemonade, so I would highly recommend stocking up on those as well. Attack turn goes down. One good reason for having Morning Sun on Apollo is we can actually heal it up without wasting any of our actual healing items. So what better time to do that than when we have a bunch of challenges where we do not get healed automatically between each one. So another good reason to have Morning Sun if you do have an Espeon. I think there's really no reason for it not to learn it, knowing that it, again, has kind of a limited moveset that it can learn in this game. And also it doesn't hurt to have a healing move like Morning Sun for this specific occasion. That'll do it for Vileplume. It has a very odd yet kind of eerie way of going out. It kind of just sinks into the ground there, very strangely. We're going to use Dragon Breath to slowly weaken Tropius, hopefully not taking it out accidentally. That would actually be extremely painful to lose not one, but actually two Shadow Pokemon at the top of this tower. Now, Tropius can be one of the harder Pokemon to capture because it does know the move Fly, and obviously once it ascends up into the air, you actually have no way of attacking it unless you are able to get off a Thunder attack, which none of my Pokemon know. So your only chance and opening to strike is when it comes back down to the ground. But this trainer in particular, if I remember correctly, like you're seeing right here, will consistently use the attack as part of his strategy. So although you still can capture it while it is in the air, you cannot weaken it. So you kind of have to strategize quite a bit in order to capture this thing. I will say that. We're going to go for the Great Ball. I'm really trying to reserve my Ultra Balls for a challenge coming up here very soon. Because if you know anything about this game and the final trainer coming up, yeah, even though this guy did kind of reveal himself as the final trainer in this 4-trainer challenge, you should know by now that we still have one big bad left to confront. So saving your Ultra Balls until the very last moment is a wise decision to make. Just saying. And also the Timer Balls as well, because you never know when those are going to come in clutch as well also. But just like with Ultra Balls, Timer Balls are just as effective because the longer it takes you to capture these Pokemon and the more turns that pass in these battles makes the Timer Balls that much more effective in actually successfully capturing the Pokemon as well. So keep that in mind. And it looks like he's doing another annoying strategy where he's going to use Synthesis to heal up all the damage that we have caused to Tropius, which is going to make it even that much more difficult to capture. Tropius, I would say, is probably one of the hardest Pokemon to capture simply because of this strategy. With a combination of Fly and Synthesis, this could take a while, and this is another reason why these timer balls may come into play a little bit more in the specific scenario. The timer balls, although they are effective when several turns have passed in a battle, if the Pokemon is nearly full health, it's still going to be quite difficult, so keep that in mind. Kind of running out of options here. We've kind of exhausted almost every single strategy that we have to use. It's only a matter of just kind of repeating our move sets here to weaken it enough to where we can capture it, but I'm afraid that he's just going to continue to use Synthesis and kind of heal off all that work that we've done to it. So hoping we can maybe get a chance here where he's attacking with low health still, and we have an opportunity to capture it. Probably going to rely on timer balls for the rest of this fight because we have been in this battle for quite some time, and this is probably the best time to use it. Three shakes. Oh, and it wasn't enough. What a tease. I hate when that happens. And there is the annoying Synthesis yet again. This is, I have a feeling we're going to be in this battle for quite some time still. At last, we finally captured this thing. This took several times. I don't even want to think about how many times it actually took to catch it. But it is over. We caught Shadow Tropius. This power, it's beyond unreal. Bravo, bravo, well done. Why not become a Cipher show battle trainer? Would you even consider it? I'll vouch that you will become a top star in no time. I wouldn't have minded making that proposition, but I'm afraid I'm not that big-hearted. I will destroy you in battle right now. You will know the humiliation of total domination before this crowd.